Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's consent agenda consists of the following items. Item A, Airport Commission meeting, May 11th. Airport Commission special meeting, June 14th. Airport Commission special meeting, July 19th. Airport Commission meeting, August 2nd. Airport Commission meeting, special meeting, September 27. Airport Commission meeting, October 18. Park Commission meeting, October 11th. And the Park Commission work session, November 8th. Item B, authorize the city administrator to execute a client agreement and authorization for an environmental mosquito management program with Clark Environmental Mosquito Management Incorporated for the 2022 through the 2024 seasons. Item C, adopt resolution R-22-05, a resolution to elect the standard allowance available under the revenue loss provision of the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund established under the American Relief Plan Act. It's otherwise known as ARPA. Item D, authorize the mayor and city administrator to execute an agreement and necessary documents with McLeod County to support the purchase and implementation of the Allied Radio Matrix for emergency response radio system in McLeod County. Item E, authorize the city administrator to execute an agreement with CR Electric Incorporated to complete one of the options provided in regards to the LED lighting conversions at the Public Works Building. Item F, approve the claims list for March 1st of 2022. Item G, approve a 1 to 4 day temporary on-sale liquor license for the Church of Holy Trinity Spring Dinner Auction on April 9th, 2022 in the Holy Trinity School Gym in Winsted. Item H, adopt resolution R-22-08, a resolution for reestablishing unchanged precinct and polling places. Item I, stop stick tire deflation system. Winston Police Department authorize the city administrator to approve a quote from Stop Stick LED Ltd. For the purchase of stop stick kits and a training kit for the Winston Police Department. That's the consent agenda. Somebody make a motion to approve those.
Mr. Mayor, a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Tonight we have a public hearing. We're going to be talking about the 2022 street reconstruction project financing. Adam's going to get us started, and after Adam's done going through the basics, we'll open it up to the public for comments. And then after that, we'll close that meeting, and then the council will have discussion. Adam?
Sure. So in previous city council meetings, we discussed the need for some asphalt maintenance and asphalt street projects out on Winston on the Lake, as well as Pheasant Run. The financing from that project was determined to be street reconstruction financing bonds. So this evening is the public hearing, is to meet the public hearing requirement of issuing those bonds. And I would ask that Shannon Sweeney of David Jones Associates comes forward to provide information to City Council.
Thanks, Adam. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Ultimately, we have three methods under statute usually to pay for street improvements or street reconstruction projects. They are using special assessments to a level of 20% in order to issue bonds if we're intending to finance it. Tax abatement bonds, which are usually used for economic development purposes but can also be used for streets and have capacity limitations. And street reconstruction bonds, which were specifically created for doing road maintenance work without special assessments or and being able to authorize a tax levy for the purpose of repaying bonds. Process is pretty straightforward in statute. You have to adopt a 5-year plan. Public hearing is required before the adoption of the plan. The plan has to designate which projects you're contemplating in the next 5 years that you would be issuing street reconstruction bonds for, and the amounts that you would intend to issue. Street reconstruction bonds fall under statutory debt limit, which doesn't apply to all of your bonds. It only applies to some bonds that are issued by cities. And your max debt limit at this point in time is 5.7 million. And we have 695,000 in outstanding debt that applies, and we have available debt capacity of just over 5 million under our net debt limit. We're authorizing $1,100,000 for street reconstruction in the plan. Adam made me aware of a typo in the plan with regard to project components that are listed. Ultimately, I pulled these off of an old cost estimate sheet that I had for estimating the project costs, and I believe it's 240th Court that is listed as a project component but is not intended to be part of this plan. So if we choose to adopt it tonight, I would make that amendment that we eliminate 240th Court as part of this plan. And promptly throw Bolton and Mink under the bus for including that on the document that I.
Is there a discount?
There's no charge for the plan, Tom. So.
For the mistake. There's no charge
Or
for the mistake.
For
yeah.
the plan, so. But ultimately, that was not intended to be part of this plan, so. Happy to answer questions. There's a resolution. As we mentioned, the vote on the plan requires a 2/3 majority in order to adopt the plan. The plan is subject to reverse referendum, meaning a petition can be submitted in the next 30 days, requiring that you vote on the question of whether bonds can be issued. If that were to take place, I'd probably recommend other alternatives for financing the project, because special elections cost money, and we probably don't want to head down that path. We want to have this procedure completed essentially before we're in a position for awarding a construction contract and have that 30 days elapse. So that's why we're doing it now.
So just to clarify again, or just to reiterate what Shannon stated, this project is not intended to be an assessment project. We are strictly levying bonds to finance this street maintenance project in those two subdivisions. So no assessments associated with this project. Secondly, we had discussed our bond limits as part of our goal setting retreat. This is a good overview of where we're at from a bonding perspective. As Shannon stated, we're able to issue $5.7 million of overall bonds. After this project, we'll have $3.8 million left of capacity to bond for.
And just to be clear, that capacity limitation only applies to very few types of debt that you issue,
Right.
including debt issued for this facility, these street reconstruction bonds, but beyond that, if we're issuing bonds for water, wastewater, stormwater projects, those don't apply to the capacity limitation. If we're doing a street project that does have special assessments, those don't count towards that capacity limitation. So most of what we do does not fall under that debt limitation. So just to be clear.
Yes, thank you.
If anybody in the audience wants to make comments or ask questions, now would be the time to step up. You want to step up, Petey, and let us know what you got on your
I
mind?
just wanted to correct something. I'm Petey Litton. I would like to correct that in your report you had 240th Court. That road was changed like 7 or 8 years ago.
11.
Yep.
11, and it's still, we have difficulty. Thank heavens that the local police and fire department know where we are, but if somebody's, completely new that needed to find it, it is 508, it's Ponto Point,
Yeah,
not.
no, I'm well aware of that. I'm not certain how it got brought up in the document as 240th Court. It must have came off an old map or something, but
Right.
I'm well aware it's Ponto Point, and we can't control any of the electronic maps, on Google or whatever it may be
Google
either.
doesn't have it, and neither does MapQuest.
Right, so we control it with McLeod County, we let them know what it officially is, and
But-
on any of our media.
For purposes of the bond, it would be corrected, right?
We're not issuing any bond, that road's not a part of this project, is it?
Okay, oh, it's not.
It's
I
not
just wanted
included.
to correct that because we constantly get, well, where are you? Because, people call, they're delivering something.
I apologize for that.
All they have is 240th Court, so
Yeah,
we do direct them.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Petey. Anybody else?
I also live there. Most of the time, we don't want people to know where we are.
If there's no further comments, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing closed. Council, have any questions of Adam? Any conversations?
Just add, eliminate 240th Court from the motion.
As part of the, yes, we'll eliminate that. And then just a reminder that we are looking to open bids on this project on March 16th, and then again award the project in April. So we will talk about financing this then at that first meeting in April, Shannon, if I remember correctly, or? Yeah, so again, so just just to reiterate the timeline, we'll be making some final decisions on this financing and awarding the project in April.
Any other questions or concerns? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution R-22-06, adopting a street reconstruction plan and approving the issuance of a general obligation street reconstruction bond, eliminating 240th Court from this.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. No old business, but under new business tonight, we have building permit fee schedule. Adam?
Sure. So as part of the city's transition process, in building officials from Metro West to Minspect, Minspect prompted us to review our current City of Winston building permit fee schedule. Originally, this fee schedule was adopted by the City Council in 2020. So Minspect, their staff made several recommendations based on the city's contract and the standards of the Minnesota State Building Code. As an additional benefit, Minspect also provided a draft fee schedule for us to compare to our current fee schedule. And with their draft fee schedule, they're recommending a valuation-based fee schedule based off the 1997 UBC, with some exceptions on the minimum permit fee. The over-the-counter fees and other fees are recommended from Minspect based on their contract with the City of Winston that we previously approved. So our current building permit fee schedule is based off the 1979 UBC, as well as some fees extracted from 1985, 1988, and 1991. So again, we'd ultimately now be updating to the 1997 fee schedule. The proposed fee schedule utilizes valuation-based fees for demolitions and fences over 6 feet tall, and currently those are flat fees. Fees are also added to cover additional work included in the contract with Minspect, including sediment and erosion control, site inspections, and the zoning inspections for sheds and fences, as well as some administrative fees. So within your packet, you do have an attached document which shows the changes in the proposed fee schedule. The items in red are our current fees, whereas the items in black are the new proposed fees. So with that being said, these proposed fees should certainly better allow us to cover staff's costs or staff time associated with issuing building permits, et cetera, as well as generate some additional revenue for the City of Winston as part of our building permit process. That being said, is there any questions for myself or Kel for that matter?
Anything, council?
Again, this is based off of recommendation from Minspect as our new building officials.
I got one question. How often do we relook at these fees?
Well, the last time that we evaluated these, or the last time they were changed, was 2012. So approximately 10 years ago.
10 years.
You're right. Now, I think there's a newer building code permit fee schedule available since 1997. But working off the 1997 schedule, that's similar to what some of the other communities in this area are working off of, so we stay competitive with our building permit fees with them, so we're not substantially higher than them, as we want to be competitive in trying to attract housing development, et cetera. It puts us in line with them versus being higher than them. What our viewpoint was on it.
Makes sense.
Any other questions? If not, we'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution R-22-07, amending the building permit fee schedule for the city of Winston.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Tonight's department report is next. That's the city clerk treasurer. State your name and
Thank you, Shannon.
I'm Raquel Kirkhoff, the City Clerk Treasurer. Thank you for having me. Last time I reported was October. So I'm going to kind of go from a timeline from then on our activities that our department has completed. The first thing right in October, Winston hosts the AWARE training for OSHA requirements. AWARE stands for a Workplace Accident and Injury Reduction Training. So Silver Lake and Glencoe and other surrounding cities can come to our site here in the Valmer Room to attend that in-person training, and employees that can't attend the in-person training are required to take it online. So then our department administers and make sure that they all complete that. That's an annual training. Then we worked through the finalization of the 2022 budget with that all-day work session. So our department helps to support that, set up that session, bring documents for Adam, and do support work for him as he creates that budget. At that time, in October, November, we started to pick up cross-training again with payroll. I'm learning the payroll process just in case people are out, and we had to consider that with the pandemic. So I picked it up again. I just need to, every once in a while, once a quarter, try to do the process so it stays fresh, because after you've been away from it a little bit, it doesn't stay in the memory. So we'll be doing that again in 22 soon here. It didn't work well at year end because of all the reporting requirements that happened with payroll at that time. We participated in and helped with support work for the maintenance supervisor interviews when Chris Barr was hired. That was in November, December timeframe. We finalized the market wage analysis and compensation study with Flaherty and Hood, and we input that study and those wages into the 2022 budget per year approval. We conducted the annual performance reviews. Those happen each year in December timeframe. We work every year, this happens annually, to do the insurance renewals for both employees, for employees' health insurance and other benefits, for property and casualty insurance for the city, and for workers' compensation insurance. So we work with Flagship on those last two. Actually, all three. Flagship helps us to get options for employee benefit renewals also. And then January starts, and we start with year-end reporting for the year 2021. So we have the same standard reports that we submit. Most of them are in January, and then early February and March we finalize. So the IRS 1099 forms, the IRS W-2 forms for city employees' wages, benefits, taxes, the IRS 1095B health coverage form for city employees for the year 21. The year 2022 final levy certification goes to the McLeod County Auditor and the Minnesota Department of Revenue. The year 2022 general fund budget and debt service to the Minnesota State Auditor's Office. The year 2021 report of outstanding indebtedness goes to the McLeod County Auditor. And then we apply for state aid for the Winston Police Department and the Winston Volunteer Fire Department. And then there's the annual lawful gambling contribution fund to the Minnesota Gambling Control Board. So those are a list of some of them. I think I hit on most of them. We mid-January participated in and helped support work for the 2022 City Council priorities all-day session or half-day session this year, and we made some changes that will be meeting again mid-year, summertime, coming up soon. And for our priorities that were selected for the city clerk Administration Department, we are going to research and plan for the replacement of vulnerable room floors and tables, and we are going to review the personnel policy and coordinate that with the Winston Volunteer Fire Department policy. And separate from our regular duties, Amanda does a lot of support for the volunteer fire department. She does their ordering, and she's been working toward some of those updates for their personnel policy that will be reviewed soon or in this upcoming year to be approved. And then also drafting that position description to update for their emergency responder, medical responder position. At the end of January, early February, Ethel resigned from her part-time administrative assistant position, and soon we'll be reviewing that position, getting ready to hire again. We've just completed the audit, which I'll get into next, so hopefully soon here, April timeframe, we'll be going through the process and you'll have updates on how that's going. The 2021 audit is complete now. All the support work, I think, has been done too, and we're going to wait now for them to prepare our financial statements. They'll likely present to you the second meeting in May, I think is what we're planning. Mr. McGraw from Conway Duth and Schmazing, Justin McGraw, was here mid-January as a pre-audit day. He works on site with us for a half day at that time to gather audit information, give us the lists of what he needs, and then we work from that time until we had our audit the week of February 22nd. So we worked about that month to input items into the portal for them to look at before they're here. And that really helps our process. It cuts down a lot of their time with us. This year they couldn't make it to Winsted the first day because of weather. And they worked on site on their end, called us, emailed us, and that worked really well. They came here, they were on site 2 days, and it went pretty smooth. We didn't have as many project-related items in 2021 as we had in 2020, so that probably helped the process, but we haven't had a lot of turnover with auditors there. Justin has been working with Amanda and I for quite a while, and Adam now too, so we're getting used to how we all operate together, so it's a good process. See, up and coming, so that kind of brings us up to the current state. And up and coming, besides the next thing with the hiring process, we have an election year, everybody knows. So I think I've mentioned the dates before, but the primary election is on August 9th. The general election is on November 8th. And we've gotten some communication from McLeod County's auditor treasurer. In the past, we've been told that we need to replace our AutoMark, and we thought we were going to be replacing that at the same time that we got the poll pads, but it didn't come that year. It's going to be coming this year. So the AutoMark is the very large piece of equipment that helps people that need help with reading or that need extra help with that system. But it's a very big and large piece of equipment that isn't very user-friendly. So I think we're going to more of a poll pad type, smaller system with this new AutoMark equipment. And they told us in the past the county auditor said to expect a budget for around $5,000, but with the grants that they're going to receive, it's sounding like it's going to cost $1,000. So we've budgeted for that expense in the past. We have that in the facility CIP. It's going to be here in 2022 for this primary and general election. We'll be using it. And then on top of that, we were told that the poll pads that we have are good for a 5-year cycle. So this is the last year we'll be using the current poll pads, and for 2023 we'll have to budget for another round of 5 poll pads is what we have now. So just some kind of exciting news with the equipment. We're really excited to get that AutoMark because it's hard. The piece of equipment we have now is old. It's probably 10 to 15 years old, and it's a big piece of equipment that is not easy, user-friendly to use. So I think that's all I have for my report. If you guys have any questions for me, I'd take them now.
I've got one. You talked about elections. Could you let us know or inform us how much it costs to put on an election? Now this year we have 2, but what is the cost, and then where do those costs come from? I mean, what's all involved in that?
So we budget $2,000 each year, and like the 2020 election, another process was, another day election was brought in for the presidential primary. So with that election, we were supplemented that expense through the state. So we got reimbursed for that whole election expense. So on a presidential election, it's gonna cost a lot more because we need more election judges. That last 2020 election for the presidential, we used a lot of election judges, especially with those poll pads. So I would say 4,000 to 6,000 in that ballpark. I don't have those costs in front of me.
Where does it, okay, you're obviously paying for judges.
Right.
Where else, what other things are you paying
We're
for?
paying for judges and training, and with the pandemic came online training. So in the past, before the pandemic, we were traveling and all the judges were traveling to McLeod County. So it's their mileage, it's their food during the election, it's their pay during the election time that they're here. So with the pandemic brought online training, so people can come up here or take their training at home. So that should reduce the cost. And I don't have those costs in front of me for.
Just the ballpark, that's all I was looking for.
Right, so that's the main cost of the whole process, is the reimbursement to judges for their training time, for our staff time to set up, work down here all day, and then have extra people to cover upstairs when we're down here working.
So elections are spendy.
They are spendy, yes. And even though, I mean, the primary, you've all experienced in the past, we get about a 10% turnout on the primary compared to, we have really high numbers on a presidential election year. But we still need, we've tried to reduce the number of judges down, but now we have the poll books too. So we've had that change where we've had to have more people sit for those. We've only gone through really one election with those that worked well. But we're trying to reduce the number of judges during that off year, this 2022 year, to minimize the cost as much as we can.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have anything?
Well, one other thing I would like to add that Raquel didn't touch on, but Raquel and Amanda and the administrative staff has been spending substantial time as part of the transition with the building officials. I feel that Metro West, our former building official, did a poor job of tracking our building permits. So now as we're trying to transition these building permits from Metro West to MinSpect, it's been not put on our staff to track them and making sure we get invoiced the proper amount, and making sure we're getting building permits closed out, et cetera. We've got building permits open for 2 years ago. So that's been a lot of additional work for our staff to get through this transition. Now moving forward, there's much better process in place from MinSpect on tracking this, but we still are working to get through this transition, and we're getting pretty close, but it has been a substantial eater of time, or consumer of your time in this last quarter. And also, again, as I've said every year, the grant administration that Raquel does with the airport-related projects is fantastic, keeping those reporting standards straight and retrieving our revenues, et cetera, with FAA and MnDOT is certainly a difficult process.
I'm looking forward to not so many projects all at one time.
Right.
When we
Shouldn't
wrap up, I'm
have
looking-
said that.
Right.
Just in the airport.
Right. And we received some additional federal funding, grant funding, coronavirus related, associated with the airport that we have to track through and allocate appropriately, et cetera. And Raquel does a fantastic job of administering those grants and making sure that those funds are being used properly, et cetera. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I guess I had a question too, with Ethel retiring and then looking to fill that part-time position, what responsibilities does that position have?
We're still going to try to meet with, I think Adam and the police chief will meet first to see what
Okay.
kind of responsibilities he needs covered, and then we're going to try to include those with our new position that we hire.
Because the
So-
chief needs a lot of help.
So when Ethel was here and for that assistant, they really do help as the first point of contact for people coming in. So they handle call questions, they handle building permits, they handle payments, they help with the utility billing process. And if we can have more help with that utility billing too, to free time so we can restructure and really get responsibilities where they need to be and duties to the different people. Plus, if we can incorporate Justin's duties that he needs help, that their department needs help with, it'll be a good fit.
Still,
Just that-
still staying part-time though.
Right, yep.
Okay.
We think we can do it, and
We
just need to-
anticipate it continuing to be a part-time position at this point. I think that with the right hire, we can allocate, to Raquel's point, some more of the utility billing responsibilities, the day-to-day tasks of the utility billing to that position, which will free up some of Tony's time, so we can reallocate some of the other administrative staff's duties down to Tony then, and just be more efficient throughout our operations.
So it's 20 hours a week, 4 hours a day, is that how it goes?
Right, we've been flexible, and we've told the position that the person that's taken it, that they need to be flexible where we need them. So there are times where it was 3 days a week, and usually it's right around kind of council packet time, where at the end of the week where we're prepping every couple of weeks, that's kind of the busiest time. So we've had those days kind of set, but if we need them, because there are projects coming, that position has to be flexible to be able to cover other days. And it's worked out really well. I mean, everybody's pretty flexible, so it can't happen every time, but we try to plan ahead to talk, give a 2 weeks to a month's notice, hey, a month from now, we're gonna need you to change. And it's just all about communication and willingness, but it's kind of written into that position that must be flexible with schedule, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep,
Anything else? Just one comment. I think the city's been very fortunate that we have the employees we have over the last 15, 20 years. I know, I feel strongly that we're probably in our best position we've been in a lot of years. I just want to thank the staff and police department and Public Works and Adam for all that you guys do. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to breeze through these meetings as quickly as we do.
It's obvious that they enjoy working here because they're still here and they work together well, so it makes it a happy situation.
thank you, and we appreciate you as council too, because you do, you're progressive, you work to get information out, and it gels, it works smooth together. Not all councils are like that, I know too, so we really appreciate working with a council that's progressive and moving forward.
Is it raise time?
Thanks, Raquel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've come to the open forum section of the meeting. If anybody wants to address the council, they could step up to the podium and have at it. Nobody wants to talk, so we'll move on to Adam. Any reports, updates?
Sure. Recently, I believe it was last week, I met with the South Fork Crow River One Watershed One Plan Policy Committee. So again, this is a group of individuals that are located within the Crow River watershed area, who have received a grant to put together a plan on improving the watershed. So Winston Lake and the area around Winston Lake is a part of that watershed area. So George is the City of Winstead's policy committee member, and I'm there to assist, of course. So they reviewed this grant. They've selected a consultant who they're going to work with on putting this plan together. So that's where that group is at. In addition to that, we are working with McLeod County Soil and Water Conservation, that group, and we're meeting on Friday to discuss the grant, a separate grant that they received that's going to be used to implement or install a catch base or a holding pond prior to Winston Lake. So again, that project is still moving forward. There is funding available for it, and we're going to look at some of the preliminary design and some of the preliminary project discussion points on Friday morning. So again, exciting news there, in my opinion, as we work to improve the water quality of Winston Lake. On Friday evening, myself, our Public Works Director, I know Tom was there and George was there. We all attended the chamber banquet. I thought it was a fantastic event, and it highlights our business community here in Winsted, and it highlights all the positives of our business community and why it's so successful. There was a lot of new businesses in town that were at the meeting, and that was exciting to see. It helped remind me that I need to get out of my office and start visiting or continue to visit with the businesses in Winsted. But again, this was my first opportunity to really get out in front of some of these business at this point after coming out of the pandemic, and that was exciting and fun. And all I can state is that there's a lot of big plans for our businesses in Winston in the near future, and I'm glad that we as a city have chosen to be a part of assisting those businesses and incentivizing them. So that was a fun event. And then lastly, it's that time of year where parking can become an issue with our parking ban, et cetera. So if any of the residents have any questions regarding the parking ban and need to alter that a little bit, they need to reach out to our police department and receive permission accordingly on those parking related items. That being said, that's all that I have this evening.
Anybody else have anything?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.